engineering, consulting engineering staff is run into poor weather, and so we will see if they call in, or otherwise we may have to call them to get an update on some of the projects that they're working on. With that, we'll go to public comment. Does anyone in the audience have anything to bring to the attention of the Airport Commission at this time?
I do, Mr. Chair. You to recognize me?
Please.
Okay. Discussed this with Paul earlier. In working with Kyra on the financials and looking at the way the city does their books, it's extra work for us to reconcile the city's books. Why bother doing that? Why not just have one set of books? Why have two? I don't see the value in that. I think it's just extra work that gives us nothing. And so what I had suggested to Paul is to consider is having Key to be the fiscal agent. It would centralize things, simplify things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess in response, it's a joint powers agreement between the counties, Couchiching and the city of Niagara Falls, so that's how it was established, and so I think probably either one of those two entities would need to be the fiscal agent under the joint powers agreement. That can be modified if that's what the two bodies want to do. So it's not up to the Airport Commission, it'd be up to the county board and up to the city council.
Well, as a courtesy, I came to the Airport Commission since you'd be directly affected by it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go to the minutes of the February 25th meeting. Pleasure with the minutes.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Pavlik to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Briggs. Discussion on the motion of the minutes. All those in favor of approving the minutes as presented, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chair, I'll abstain. I was not at
Not here. One abstention. Please note the one abstention to the minutes.
He was obviously getting about 3 shades darker there, I can see.
He told me.
That's very good.
I talked to your son, told him all the places to go and not to go.
Oh, okay. Well, that's helpful.
So did you listen to him?
Yes, love you.
We'll move to the financial statement, and I don't know, maybe you better lead us through this, because I've got two,
I can explain everything.
okay, good.
The first packet is kind of the actual financial. So the unpaid bills totaling $20,493.74. That would be the bills. There were a few bills that were paid prior to the meeting, and those amounts are the unpaid bills detailed that they state the bills paid. One was for Minnesota Energy, which was the amount of $3,350.48, and then Minnesota Power with $3,825.43. There was also a Bremer that came in just after the meeting the same day last month, and we went ahead and paid that one, which was $1,275.36. So we could avoid fees on those bills.
And they were pre-authorized by the commission?
By the commission, correct, yes. So the city did go ahead and pay those. Jenny and I have met with Betty, and we've transferred everything over, as you can see, to the QuickBooks reporting here. So everything's entered in. There was there's one thing that we are unable to get balanced and Betty is looking into further, and that's on the second, unpaid details here, where the $23,793 is circled.
The second ones that are listed as of March 24th,
Yes.
okay?
Yep. So where the 23,793 is circled at the top, that is the balance that the city seems to keep carrying over each month. From what we see, it started back in April of 2014, and we're not quite sure of what that balance is. So Betty's doing some checking and is going to let us know of how we can get that cleared out, but I wanted to make sure everyone was aware of where that was sitting. Otherwise, we've got a profit and loss budget versus actual, and everything's been entered in there, so you can kind of get an idea of where things are sitting compared to the budget and where we're actually at. Next year, we're hoping to be a little more accurate with knowing the timeline of when grants will come in, an estimated cost of what some of those grants might be, and we can kind of better estimate that a little bit. And then it gives you a balance sheet where our cash in bank, which the city is still carrying for us in that $157,342.07. I haven't gotten any new grants in recently. There was a small amount for, I believe, 20,000 that came in, so, no new money has come in for that.
You did submit, is that the one that we signed the other day for 26,000? Is that a grant request? I think I signed the.
Those were closeout papers.
Yep.
Yep, the
Closeout.
closeout grant for 2011, yes.
Okay.
So once that closes out, then we will get our feedback from that.
Commissioner Pavlik.
Well, I just want to take an opportunity to tell Kyra how much I appreciate what she's done here. I mean, this is huge. And very understandable. You're gonna be Teresa's best friend, by the way, because now she'll be able to do it. And I think the pre-authorization payments, that's gonna work. It's gonna save us money. Thank you.
I echo that, Mr. Chair, and just, well, we've got grants out going back to, we're closing out 2011, but we've got 2012 through 15, correct? Or 14? Okay. So we need a motion.
Yes, a motion to pay the unpaid bills and accept the financial statement. Motion by Commissioner Pavlik,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Nevenin. I still have one question with regard to this 23,793. If you could just, you show a positive 156,981, and then you show two minuses there. And so the balance is 23,000 that
That we can't get to that.
we can't get that to balance, okay.
For our books compared to what the
city.
city is showing.
Okay,
And so, but what we
So-
had to do was we had to enter in everything for 2014 basically in one lump sum, so we could at least get something in there to show. And then we had to take out those payments.
and so do we have 23,000 more in our checking account than what they do? Is that what we're seeing?
I believe that's the way it's showing.
That's the way we have there, but I just want to make sure that I understood it. Further questions or discussions with regard to the finances of the airport and the city as a fiscal agent? Hearing none, we'll call the question on that to approve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Financial statements and bills are approved. Thank you. Haven't heard from the engineers at this point. Do you think we ought to be calling them?
We should call them.
Do we have a number?
Give a number there. Does Karen have a number?
My guess is that, right, it's real difficult.
Yeah, and I've got,
No, I don't remember.
I've got Sean's something.
ACH into a computer.
I'll give you the number we can send for this.
It's the only thing Teresa ever taught me that I remember.
There you go. 651 925 7541.
That's Sean.
That is Sean, that's correct. I believe he called in on that one. Find out. At least we'll get the initial contact with you there.
Okay, Shannon's Lee, how are you doing?
You just sent me the proper number. Literally this
Good.
second.
Have you guys tried to call us? Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, and it may be, I was just telling these guys, maybe easier for us to call in to you if you have a number, because this phone doesn't always ring, that's one of my problems. The number here, for future reference is 218-283-1109. And then, and you can put a dash 07 because that's you know, the little closet here where there's phone in there. That's a separate number. So usually between one of those, the problem is the rings on the closet, the door shut, you can't hear it, you know, when it's wide open. But anyway, I'll call you right back if it's okay. You bet, bye. You guys want this number for your own reference?
I got it written.
Okay.
He just texted that to me just now, literally, when he called, he picked it up and the text came in, the correct number.
Good morning. I'm gonna hook you up on speaker. If I lose you, I'll call you right back, okay? Hey, man. Still there?
Still here.
All right, we'll give you to the chairman here.
Okay.
Good morning. Who do we have?
We have Sean and Bob here today.
Okay, Sean and Bob Kors.
Yep. We apologize we can't be there in person. As you probably know, the weather outside, it wasn't the best flying weather today. There was a lot of ice and freezing rain out.
It's 70 degrees and sunny up here, so you're missing out on it.
The forecasters are always wrong.
Always. Good morning.
We were up and ready to go this morning, but
Well, very good. We've got a number of items. Do you have a copy of the agenda?
we do.
Okay. And under the engineer's report, we have 4 items to discuss: the pavement project, the wildlife study, the terminal building update, and then the federal entitlement transfer agreements. And so we'll let you take it from there.
Okay. Well, maybe I should start with, maybe we'll go a little bit out of order here, but the intent is to try and find a home for our expiring $1 million in entitlement funds. And what we've come up with is a combination of some projects and then transferring some of those funds to other airports and get them back in subsequent years. So there's a couple projects that we want to talk about. Actually, there's 3, and I'd like to start with, I did talk with Thor about the need for an ARF vehicle. Your ARF vehicle is eligible to be replaced. It actually was eligible to be replaced in 2012. But I did talk to Thor, and he said there's no need to replace that at this time. So just wanted to verify with everybody that everybody's on board with that. And right now it would be a good time if you do want to purchase a new vehicle, just because of the higher rate of federal and state participation.
I think his crew calls it a barf vehicle.
So that was one thing. The other thing is a wildlife study. The last study that the FAA has on record, you can call the date.
I don't recall the date. This is Sean. I do remember, I think the final approval happening around the 2008 timeframe.
That's
I
correct.
don't know if anyone there recalls when that process was initiated and completed.
Yes, Lee Grimm did I thought it was an update to his previous study,
Yep, that sounds right.
and Thor believes that it was about 2008.
That's, yeah, it's right in that, in that time frame.
So in the nature of all FAA guidance, their procedures for wildlife assessments and studies has changed. It's a greater emphasis. They have a new way of requiring a wildlife biologist to be procured by the airport. You have to send out an RFP or a request for proposal to obtain the services of a wildlife consultant, and they have to meet certain FAA criteria. So I'm not sure the gentleman you used in the past would meet that criteria. We'll definitely look into it. But you do have to go through a whole selection process to get somebody on board to complete that work.
Sean, what's the requirement on how often it has to be done?
I think an initial, for 139 airports, the initial assessment needs to be completed regardless under the new criteria and with the new certified FAA certified biologist. That being said, I think once you do one, then it's just kind of updating your wildlife management plan that is generated from the assessment.
That is my understanding also, Sean. The
Yep.
new study.
So I think the need for it is generated by the fact that there hasn't been one done by an FAA certified biologist. And the time frame, I think is, I think a lot of that data can be used, but at the same time, it will still need to be done.
Yeah, it is my understanding there's not a grandfather clause.
Yeah, that is correct. But as far as how often they have to be updated, I'm not sure the actual date.
Yeah.
I'm not sure either.
And our 139 inspector did not have, because it is a brand new regulation, as of at least at our inspection, our last inspection in September of 2014, he was not sure of the longevity of the inspection after doing a new inspection, a new wildlife study.
So what we would have to do with that is pull together an RFP, and you would have to select a certified wildlife biologist to do that study.
Well, heaven forbid we find a rare species.
I'm sure there's one in that wetland somewhere. And then the other piece is the pavement project. So the intent of a big part of the intent of our trip today was to meet with you all and then to also go and take a look at the pavement. So to see kind of what project that we were looking for to do this year. So we're gonna have to make another trip up there in the interim to determine the project that we're going to do. So all of that, all of those projects, one of those projects, some of those projects would be a home for some of your entitlement funds. We've also been talking with Bemidji, and we've talked to them about using some of your entitlement funds. They want to take $500,000, which they would then pay back in 17, federal fiscal year 17. And they have also offered to take $250,000 to pay back in federal fiscal year 18, which we're not getting it back next year to use at the beginning of the terminal project, but it would still help us in the terminal project because it's going to be a lengthy process. We're scheduled to be completed with phase 1 in the second quarter of 2017, so that'll work nicely to be getting some of those funds back at that time.
That payback would be guaranteed then?
It's guaranteed, yeah. It's guaranteed loosely. However, we're working with Karen in Bemidji, and she said she'll pay it back, I believe her.
We'll make sure.
Yeah.
The one caveat with the entitlement transfers is the funding of the program. As you're probably all aware, there's a little disagreements in Congress on funding some bills. The FAA entitlement program may be held up in that process. So that's probably the unknown that you have. I think all indications are that the entitlement programs will be funded. It's just in what form and how painful it's going to be. If you remember a few years back, they did the continuing resolutions. There's some talk that may happen again this year, or there might be some miracle and everybody will agree on a long-term 2 to 4 year bill where things will be funded. So that's the only risk. But I think the program needs to be funded. So it's a matter of just how they're going to do it and in what time frame that will be done. But I guess we can't not mention the fact that if they don't fund the program, then they won't pay you back.
And the agreement to pay back and to do the transfers is an agreement between the airport. So you do write it in the agreement that how much they're going to take, how much you're going to transfer, and when they're going to pay you back. However, it is up, between the airports to make sure that transfer happens, the payback happens, which will definitely help facilitate. So there's no guarantee, but I think working with Karen and Bemidji, as long as the program is funded, I'm pretty sure we'll be getting that money back.
Please.
And then maybe one more good thing to add, that it is strictly between communities in this specific instance, airport commissions. The FAA only moves the money around. They're not part of that transfer. So they're not a legal body that helps with that. They just merely move the money from one account to another once you authorize them to do so.
Sean, and I just asked the chairman here for the table for a second, but I believe it's worth the slight gamble that there is, because we need these funds down the road, not now. So, I mean, if we sit on that $1 million now, we're gonna lose this. We might as well let them use it and take this, the small gamble that, that we wouldn't come back.
Congress wouldn't authorize.
We need them anyway. We need them 16, 17, not right now, so.
I think the only question I would have in that area, and that goes back to the item 1 that on the ARF vehicle, and I'd like to hear from Thor. I know that our vehicle is about 20 years old.
Yeah, that is correct. It's a 96 model.
And I don't know what a new one would probably run, but I would guess it's going to be 500 to 750,000.
750, 750, somewhere in that, yeah.
And when would we have to purchase another one? What is there?
At this point in time.
Does the Part 139 inspector take a look at it?
And makes a decision, correct. Yeah, there is no specific guidelines on age, specific on our equipment.
And I think Bob made a good point earlier. If we were to buy it now, we would do it with 95% dollars. So we would be, if we buy it 4 years from now, it could be at 90% dollars.
And $1 million instead of $800,000.
And I'm just asking,
Certainly.
I believe that the one that we have is probably still in very good shape. I know you keep things
Yes.
in good order out there. The question is, when do we take and
where's the balance of course, yes.
Is there a trade-in or?
And unfortunately, on that game, they don't allow you, the monies that the commission can make. The commission owns the vehicle, lock, stock, and barrel at this point. But if you sell the vehicle, for the sake of the conversation, you get $50,000 for it, an arbitrary, total fictional number. You cannot take those monies and leverage that towards the 90-10. You can take those monies and you can leverage it towards your 10%, or your 5%, but you cannot leverage that money. So you're 95%, correct?
Well, I've been here a long time, and I've had faith in the federal government. But I tell you, people have a lot more faith right now than I do. We don't know what the heck they're gonna do.
Sure.
We can't afford to lose that much money. I mean, it makes me, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it, and it's been a good program and a way for communities to help each other, and it's a good faith effort. But it said it right there, there is no guarantee, and all you have to do is turn on the TV. And that should give anybody pause to take any chance with monies that there's no way we can replace. That's all I'm saying. So, I mean, I just think we should think about it. I'm not saying no either, but it certainly gives me hesitation in this climate. I'd be a lot more comfortable, even if we were gonna do that, if we had a contingency that's based on a 2-year agreement there at the federal level, so we know that these programs are funded. I mean, that's, should happen this year, but that could be held off too. I mean, I don't know.
And I guess Bob and Sean, maybe you can remind us, we have to make a decision by May 15, is it?
May 20th is
May
the
20th.
transfer agreement, needs to be in place.
Okay.
And we also have a May 1st deadline of intent to use entitlements with the FAA.
Oh, we have to it's May 1st that we have to give the information to the FAA.
Yeah, they just want to know your intent to use your entitlements this year.
Okay. And just looking at the numbers here, what I assume you're looking at is item number 2, the wildlife study, and item 3, the pavement project would encumber about $250,000, so we would have about $750,000 to loan out.
Well, so there's a little more to it, so I'm sorry we're not there with the handout for this, but if you have $500,000 going to Bemidji,
Yes?
and we also have $100,000 that Grand Rapids has said that they will take. So that's $600,000. Now we've got then the remaining. Then Bemidji would take another $250, and then we've got a question mark on dollar amounts that we could put towards the pavement project, a wildlife study, an ARF vehicle. However, if we're going to buy an ARF vehicle, that's going to bite into probably the funds that we would transfer to another airport.
And if
With
Bob,
what we have thought is, let's transfer $500,000 to Bemidji and $100,000 to Grand Rapids if we're not going to purchase the ARF vehicle. And then what that $250 that we would transfer to Bemidji could be less, could be $50,000, could be $100,000, depending on what projects we want to do and how much we want to spend on the airport.
if I may, Bob, it's Thor here. I just recently had some discussion and some email dialogue with Benita regarding our signage. Our 139 inspector is requiring per se, to change up. All of our signage is faded, anywhere from the 15 to 20-year-old mark. Benita just started that project. I realized that she's dealing with some serious health issues there, and so I don't know if she's recently transferred that information or data onto you or Sean, but that definitely has to be in this year's project hopper also, is new lenses for all the signage, and then with that, I would highly recommend a conversion to LEDs on all the signage. There is some front-end costs on that as far as LED conversion, but the long term and maintenance and what have you, there's no comparison.
Hello?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. Everybody stopped talking there for a second there. It sounded like we got cut off.
Nope.
This is Sean. Benita did share those, that conversation with us, so we
Thanks,
are
Sean.
aware of the sign, project. The one issue is we're waiting, from the FAA. We asked them a question basically on the eligibility of the signs. If it's essentially either a replacement of the entire sign, which is expensive, or a retrofit, which would be doing exactly what Thor recommended, replacing sign panels and converting them to LED. So we have the question in with the FAA to find out which track they're going to make us take. Sometimes they get hung up on putting money into old infrastructure. And we just want to make sure Tracy Schmidt at the FAA is on board. We're obviously pushing for the retrofit option. It's much more affordable. You can meet the 139 inspectors' intent by doing that. But at the end of the day, Tracy from the FAA will need to be on board to fund that. So excellent point, Thor. We're tracking it. So the cost, I think if that's something you want to move forward to, we can include that. And then the question mark will be whether it's a retrofit as you described, or if the FAA is going to be making us do something more extensive.
Yeah, that's.
I think the point there is, will they fund it will they allow us to use the entitlement funds for a retrofit or not?
Right, so basically what you're saying is, depending on the funding structure, is that even though per unit cost, if they, an FAA and their infinite wisdom, you never know what direction they're gonna go. If they said, okay, you're gonna go all new units, even though they may be a higher cost and maybe a lower cost to us locally, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
that's true, because if you're gonna do the retrofit way, and the FAA isn't gonna pay for it,
Right.
we'd have to seek state funds or 100% local funds to fix it.
Any ballpark on that?
Yeah, good question, Paul. And do you have any idea, and I realize that this process is coming along quickly. Number one, it is a priority project as far as airport operations go. Definitely the 139 inspector has made that clear. It is a safety issue. Any idea on a cost projection on that?
If we were to replace the whole sign unit, we would use the existing bases. So I would expect the actual infrastructure to remain in place. So we'd actually be just swapping out a complete sign unit for another one. The estimated cost would be about $3,000 per sign.
Yes.
And I guess I don't off the top of my head know how many signs there are out there.
Yep.
But that would be kind of a simple multiplication after that, I guess, just to
Sure.
figure that out. We can do that research while we're talking here. We'll have somebody look that up. But and then the retrofit, I guess I wouldn't know exactly what that would cost. I would, just an initial estimate would be about half price, so maybe $1,000 to $1,500 per sign.
Certainly.
And that's merely just off the top of my head, but that's what I would expect.
Right. Thank you.
And if you change the lighting, and these are all directional lights for the runway and the taxiways, is that?
Yeah, they're signage for directions for the pilots to what taxiway they're on, what runway they're going to, what runway they're departing on, exiting onto a taxiway, etc.
And if you're gonna change to an LED lighting in those,
Yes,
is that gonna require a new fixture?
I do not believe so. The signage, the actual box and the actual breakaway stanchions that the signs stand, is my understanding that you don't need a new fixture. But and I'm processing this conversation myself, Bob, is that we may be at $1,000. He's estimating, right? These are all ballpark numbers. $1,000 per unit to conversion versus a $3,000 per cost unit But at the end of the day, we may be local funds. Maybe cheaper for us to go new. Either way.
And you're not looking to do all of the runway lights LED, or are you?
Not at this point,
Okay.
but I can definitely sense that's coming. There's no question. no question about it, the FAA is gonna be pushing us towards LEDs, and from my perspective, it's great. It's a wonderful way.
And it's a big savings.
Oh, it's,
For,
Astron, it's huge.
Monthly savings on our
From,
electric bill.
from the get-go, from the beginning, absolutely zero maintenance, and the energy cost is incredible, nothing.
Commissioner Pavlik.
And we had audit and corrections, and the savings are huge, so. I was just kinda curious, you mean, all those lighted signs meant something? I didn't know, that's why I couldn't find the brand.
That's why you're at one, I'm just kidding.
Ended up parking in the wrong place and we got chewed out by the tower.
Yeah.
You know, sitting to think about it, you look at this election cycle that we're in, presidential election cycle, so you don't know what's gonna happen. Having said that, when you think about it, it could be yes the next time that needs the loan, so I mean, I guess, you know, I'm cautious, but I think I'm willing to do that. I'm just speaking for myself.
You have to, you can't rely on the federal government, what are you gonna rely on?
Well, they print the money yet, so.
That's right.
Commissioner Evans.
So, Mr. Chair, we have to make a decision by May 1 essentially on which direction we're gonna go with this breakup. And I think the other important component of as I understand it, the biggest bulk of that 500 will be paid back first in 2017, which is another nice, if we're gonna look at this. So that, but we have to make a decision fairly soon then.
Yeah, I would say the next meeting in April, at the end of April, we've gotta have a decision made as to which way we're going with these projects and loans. Commissioner McBride.
Bob and Sean didn't really touch on, but, Dory, you aware of pavement projects that need to be done?
Yes, Peter and I know, yep.
Substantial.
Yep, definitely.
Last year, we spent about 160,000.
Will be all of that and more. We have some, and it's absolutely every year on the dot. It's a tremendous amount of heaving, cracking, winter. I mean, as you know, the airport sits on 87% wetlands. I mean, we've done our best with drainage and base and what have you, and we've designed it the best.
We don't
can.
have wetlands in Commissioner.
Oh, no.
Let's not remind anyone.
Exactly.
But you're on high ground.
Yeah, we're on high ground there.
The highest in the county.
That's the highest in the county.
That picture right there, that we're standing on a 20,000 acre parcel of wetlands, believe it or not.
That is technically what.
It's just crazy. We had a hard time over that.
That was it.
Well, and I don't know what a wildlife study, and certainly the process of finding a certified biologist. I don't know whether Lee is interested in that. I know that he's getting out of some of his other projects, so if he's retiring, I just don't know. But I gotta think that he would be certified, but he may have to go through a process to get that certification.
I think
Larry Peterson is certified, wouldn't he? Larry Peterson, the DNR, head of the DNR wildlife. Is that his name Larry
He was
Peterson?
fish.
Kevin, is that it?
No, that's Kevin.
Oh,
Kevin
Kevin,
Fisher.
okay, he's Kevin.
Larry, very nice gentleman, yes. He's a wildlife specialist.
Bob, if I
Yes.
could interrupt.
Please.
I know you guys are talking about you need to make a decision by May 1. I think we really need to make a decision today, kind of the way we're gonna go with these projects. Because we need to get transfer agreements in place with these other airports at their April commission meeting. So in order to facilitate that, we need to probably make a decision on which way we're gonna go at the meeting today.
Jobs program for SEH if we don't fund this. Say, make sure you give Benita our regards before we forget, and tell her I certainly miss her because I don't have adult supervision there.
We certainly will. If I could help maybe facilitate the decision making, I think the first thing you need to decide, it sounds like the pavement and the signage are probably more higher priority projects at this time. The ARF vehicle is something that there is high funding for it right now, but that's gonna take a big chunk of your entitlement funds if we do that project. So I think the decision should be, are we gonna do an ARF vehicle or not? That's probably your first question.
in regards, I appreciate what Wade was saying about the future funding. I think I understood what Wade was saying. Correct me, Wade, is that what you're looking at is that if we didn't purchase a new ARF vehicle this year, there's a possibility it would not be funded in the future? Is that what we're looking at? Okay.
The other side, or if I could, Mr.
Sure,
Chair.
please.
The other side of that coin is, should we replace the vehicle when it's not, not ready to be replaced yet either?
That's what we're up against.
Right.
That's what we're up against.
That doesn't make sense.
From a
You think you'll get
practical-
5 more years, 10 more
Yes,
years?
we'll get 5 out of it. From a practicality point
I
of
mean,
view.
if you get 5 more years, that would be sitting fairly good with all the other projects, right? We could wait.
Yes.
Then I agree, I'd find.
Okay. So I think the consensus here, guys, is that we would not replace the ARC vehicle at this time and plan to keep it working for the next 5 years.
Okay.
So that takes us down to the wildlife study, the signage, and the pavement project.
And I can talk about the pavement project a little, and maybe give you some estimates on cost. I have somebody in the office counting signs right now, so we will hopefully have an estimate on the sign project if we were to replace all the signs. So I think maybe the easiest way to do this would be to you have your $1 million you gotta take care of. From what I gather, it sounds like the pavement project and the sign project are kind of a priority. Talking to Benita and maybe Thor can add in. We're looking to do a similar project as last year, pavement-wise, maybe a little more expansive to keep up with some of the pavement maintenance on the airfield. I think initial estimates put our all-in cost at about $250,000. That would be engineering and construction for that, and that would give us opportunities to repair a lot of the pavements that are out there. And I don't know if Thor can speak to the condition of the pavements. I was hoping to look at them this morning before the meeting, but obviously that didn't work out. But if Thor can add in any sort of comments on the pavement project, but $250,000 is the number that Benita and I have been talking about.
I think that's a fair number, Sean. Just ballparking it and kind of a layman's observation and kind of getting a feel for it. I'm guessing that's where we have some on the 3-1 1,100 feet in from the threshold on 3-1 north side, right hand side. We've got some heaving and cracking there. We have a manhole cover that has popped tall for us. We have to do some subgrade work there too. We got some drainage issues and what have you. But yeah, my feeling is that's a good number.
Take your time, boy.
Okay, so that's the pavement portion. And then on top of that, we're still working on the sign number. And then the wildlife study, I think if we look into completing that, I think, I'm trying to remember the cost from Brainerd study last year. I think the initial quotes were about $30,000. No, it was less. It was $6,000, I believe. And then you have to account for the land that comes after. So I think that's the more expensive piece. So there's kind of two parts to that. That there's the initial study, and then they develop a plan to mitigate the risks that are out there. So it's hard to say where that'll come in, but I think planning for about $50,000 would be a good number.
I think that's realistic in the full package.
Burrowing deer come to mind. Remember that? I wanted to stay on the fence 4 feet down.
Yeah, it's a per seagull per Canada. That's a pretty good number, gentlemen.
So that takes 300,000 of our million, and I guess I don't know what lighting would be. You're counting those right now, but is it going to be 100,000?
Yeah, we're not sure, Bob. It depends on which way the entitlements go. But, yeah, I can't even throw in a number for you right now. But it depends on if Tracy says that it's eligible for entitlements, it may be a much higher cost, probably 3 times the cost of the retrofit.
Well, what if we earmarked 100,000 and did what we could in the way of replacement and also energy conservation? If we put in new lighting, new units to accommodate whatever it takes.
Yeah, we just talked to Lindsay from our office. She was able to run some numbers on the signage question. There are 23 signs on a quick count on the base map, and pricing it around $3,000 to $3,500 per sign, plus the design fees, mobilization, things of that nature. We're probably looking at $100,000. This is Airfield wide, the entire.
You got 100, yeah.
Okay.
I'd have to hire you for.
There you go.
So that would say that we could do the 500,000 to Bemidji and the 100,000 to Grand Rapids?
That is correct. Yep. So it'd be $350,000 for the infrastructure projects, pavement and signage, and that would leave you $50,000 for the wildlife study, 100 to Grand Rapids, which I don't know if Bob mentioned is payable in 2016, so that's a good deal. They're willing to pay back next year, so that'll help you out with the terminal project. And then the $500,000 that would go to Bemidji for the remaining portion of your $1 million.
I know where all those people live. We'll get our money back.
Yeah, it's Julie Kennedy down in Grand Rapids,
Yeah, they're-
too, so you can.
Oh, Julie, we know Julie.
Julie and Karen have made do good work.
Yeah, so I think with Julie and Karen, we've got as best a chance as we're gonna have with getting our money back. I think they're people of their word.
Their trust level is high with us,
Yeah.
okay?
The mayor's a good man down there too. I work with him. It's fun.
So do we have a plan there then? Do you want some formal action from us, that this time we would look to loan 600,000 in 2 pieces to Bemidji and Grand Rapids, and then set aside monies for wildlife study, the pavement project, and signage on the airfield?
Yeah, I think so, Bob, and then if there does happen to be any money remaining, Bemidji is still an option to transfer any remaining entitlements.
Okay.
I would move.
Motion by Commissioner Briggs that we would set aside those dollars or earmark those dollars for those projects and for loaning. No need to repeat them again, I don't think, is there? I think
And if
everybody.
I may interrupt for 1 minute, there are, so the transfer agreement forms will require the chairman's signature. And so just as long as your motion covers your ability to sign those once we get those documents up to you.
So we would include that the chair can sign those transfer agreements. All right? A second to that motion. Second by Commissioner Padlet. Discussion.
So that the 500,000 in Bemidji, and if we were in the middle of a terminal project and they couldn't pay it back, is that a liability to us, Bob?
Is that Bob, me, Bob?
Yeah.
Okay, it's not, it actually, you're gonna have another 4 million, so we've been working with that 4 million in your maximum entitlements. But if we get the $500,000 back, it helps us, in the funding piece. So, is it a liability? Yes, but we're getting ahead of the maximum that we could possibly have, if that makes sense.
Yep, okay, all right. Thank you.
Further questions or discussions with regard to that motion?
Just if we,
Commissioner Nevin?
if we could get a solid or a hard number on that lighting as soon as possible, I think that would be helpful too, just so we know. Got a good ballpark, but
Mayor, get,
Yeah, we'll-
100, and
yeah,
that's
we'll-
what they said.
We'll get with Tracy and,
Yeah.
and see what her decisions are with regard to replacing. So we may just buy new signs.
Yeah, and I think we'll know that definitely by the next meeting.
If the,
Now that we have this direction, but in the interim too, we'll know something that we can let Bob or Thor know about at least.
and Thor, the Part 139 inspector, did he note that in his,
Absolutely.
that signage
Yep.
issue? Okay,
Yep.
so I think we have that to take to Tracy.
What's the
Then
difference?
we will need a motion to go ahead and advertise an RFP for a wildlife study.
Okay, just a minute here, we're gonna have a vote on this motion. Further, Commissioner Briggs?
I just had a question, how long, the signage, life is, so far as 10 years, 20 years?
15, 20.
The question was, what is the average lifetime for signage on the airport? And Thor thought it was about 15 years.
And that is the number I had as well. I think most electrical equipment lasts around that 15-year time frame.
Very good. Further questions or discussion with regard to the motion to earmark these dollars and notify the FAA? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried, and we will go forth with that. And then now, we would put forth a RFP for a wildlife consultant, a certified biologist, to be able to do an update to the wildlife study. Motion to do that? Motion by Commissioner McBride,
Second.
second by Commissioner Nevin. Discussion on the motion,
Do we need to put a start date on that?
on the RFP?
Yes.
I think
They would do that.
they can put that out for us, and then we'll probably have some direction at the next meeting. Commissioner Pavlik?
Well, following on Brian's question, I mean, is there a timeline that we have to have this accomplished?
This year?
Yeah,
It's
it's
gotta be
this
done
year.
next year.
15?
It is.
Probably by the end.
Wildlife study is, yes.
Your September is gonna be another
Yep.
inspection by the 139.
Absolutely.
So back to
And
Brian.
this would be a use of your, some of your entitlements too, so.
And they should be used by October.
Right, and we have to let them know by May 1, so that's
Yep.
kind of the time to do it.
Well, my point is, we'll need to include those timelines in the RFP, so there's no
Yes.
confusion there, and we don't
Right.
get beyond our timelines.
Good time to count mosquitoes out there. It's good summer.
Well, before we step, may I ask, Sean, on that signage number of 23, does that include distance remaining signs?
I don't know if she included those or not. I believe it was just the guidance signs.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll definitely verify that number when we do the pavement inspection and check out all the actual.
Because I would,
lines in
yeah,
place.
if we're gonna,
And,
if we're taking on that big of a project and regarding the signage, I would think that we would definitely look at the distance remaining signs also.
Okay, if that's, yeah, we'll definitely look into that.
Certainly.
And Thor, just to be clear on that too, so we are going to be looking to do the runway and the taxiway as well, and replacing them all with LED light?
That is correct.
Okay.
All right, with regard to the question on the RFP for the wildlife consultant, any further discussion? Chair would then call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve the getting an RFP for the wildlife consultant signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried, and we would ask you to go forth, Bob and Sean, with regard to that RFP.
Okay, we will work with, we have a draft here that Benita typed up for us in front of me now, and we'll confirm the dates to coincide with your next meetings.
Very good.
We'll work with Cairo to get those published.
All right, thank you. Then we got the terminal building update. Bob, have you got that one?
Yes. Oh, sure. we have one more piece on the pavement first.
Oh, okay, pavement first.
Now that you've decided to look into doing some pavement rehabilitation work, Benita prepared a design contract to do some of that work. And if you're willing to entertain that contract at this meeting, we can go ahead and get started on design for that. The design is going to include basically getting everything ready for bidding and advertising for the pavement project. So this does not include the signage work. It'll also include, there's some survey work that needs to be done to locate obstructions off the ends of the runways. So some time is included for that as well. Bringing up the contract now. It's basically our standard contract. So this is just for design up into bidding services to apply for the grant. So through bidding, I'm sorry, and the recommendation of award of contract. And the contract amount is $17,000. So if that is agreeable to the commission, that we'll start that pavement rehabilitation project and get that up and running.
All right, the motion that we would need then would be to enter into a contract with SCH Engineering for a design contract on the pavement project at the cost of $17,000. Motion by Commissioner Pavlik to enter into that contract. Second by Commissioner Nevenin. Discussion on the motion or the contract.
Okay.
And I guess maybe a question for Sean or Bob there. Would we be looking to call for bids in April or May?
We would time it, it would probably be for your May meeting. I think it all depends on when we submit the grant application and all these pieces come together. So unless, I don't think we'd be ready for your April meeting at the end of April, so that would put it at the end of May when we would want to get permission to submit the grant request. So I would say the bid opening would be early to mid-May.
Okay, that would be good, because we've got a lot of projects in this area, bituminous surfacing projects on Highway 53 and on Highway 11 East and on Highway 332, County 332. The state and the county are going to have millions of dollars of contracts, and so we would look to have at least 2 or 3 contractors working here in July, August, and September.
Okay, and I believe that would be the time frame that the work would be done.
Very good.
Sooner you get it out, the better price we'll get, that's for sure.
Yes. And we can get you the names of because I know the one on 53, I've met with that contractor, Mark Sand and Gravel out of Fergus Falls. He's somewhat new to this area, but his family owned a firm out of Bemidji for quite a few years. And
Okay, yeah, it's interesting that KGM didn't get that contract.
yes, but I thought they got.
Right down the road.
Yeah, they got some work on 53. I think they're gonna be maybe replacing culverts or something, just prior to that contract.
Okay,
And so, there's a host of work that's going to be done in this area.
very good.
All right, so, further discussion with regard to the motion, on the contract. All those in favor of the motion to approve the design contract with SCH at $17,000 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried and contract will be entered into.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further, before we go to the terminal building update. All right, Bob, you're on.
Okay, so the terminal project, so we've been meeting, I had one meeting with MnDOT and the bonding folks. Bonding is the big piece we're working on right now. And we we've talked about the project being phase 1 and phase 2. And what we're doing is, we're splitting this out so that we can take advantage of the entitlement funds and build just phase 1, if that's all we have. And if we get further discretionary funds available, we can build phase 1 and phase 2. The issue is we're coming up with is that bonding money cannot be used on customs, which is a large piece of phase 2. At least that's what the initial conversation was, that it can't be used there. So we've been working with a MnDOT representative who is a liaison to Minnesota Management and Budget, where the bond funds are actually approved and issued. And so they have given us some decisions that aren't necessarily what we believe are true, meaning that maybe we can use some of the bonding funds for customs. And they admit that too, that they're unsure. And so what we're going to do is go straight to the source and have a meeting with Minnesota Management and Budget. And that is now scheduled for April 1st. And they have requested that someone from International Falls attend that meeting, either in person or by phone. And so I think, are you aware of that meeting, Bob? I sent
Yes.
you a meeting invite on it, or they sent you a meeting invite on it, but I don't know if you responded to it or not.
I haven't yet, and that's next Wednesday, I believe.
It's next Wednesday at 10 a.m., yeah?
And it's possible that I can be there. I've just got some personal issues I need to be working on at the beginning of the week. But I think there's, and I could be wrong, that there may be some precedent on the Duluth terminal.
Exactly. And so
building.
that was what exactly what came up.
Okay, good, because as I toured that with the director down there, I believe that he said that they had used some of the bonding money for the international part of that terminal, the international gates, and further, we have the monies from aeronautics, the $1.5 million that aeronautics has committed. That could be used, or are you saying that also could not be used for the second phase?
No, that could be used for the customs, which is in phase 2. The issue we're coming up with is we're still doing value engineering to bring the cost down on phase 1. The costs right now are still on phase 1 more than what we have funding in hand to cover the just phase 1. So what we're doing is also working with our lobbyists to try and get additional bond funds to cover more of phase 2, and then discretionary, of course, would then help us out with funding of phase 2 as well. And now this transfer agreement gets us another $500,000 into phase that we can use for phase 2 in each year. So the project is slated to start in May of 2016, and we can be drawing down on entitlement funds in May of 16, and then once entitlement, if everything moves forward and Congress reauthorizes, once we get into 17, we'll be able to grab another $1 million from your entitlements. So we're trying to work the funding streams in with the project and only take them when we need them on the project. Does that all make sense?
It's a little muddy, but
Yeah.
and I guess if we needed some discretionary monies on the first phase, if I understand the FAA, they won't tell us until the late summer of 2016 whether or not we would be eligible for some discretionary monies.
That's right, yeah. So we need to figure out a project that can move forward without discretionary.
Okay,
And then if we get discretionary, we can award more pieces. So that's what we're working on, that package to split it up into those different pieces.
and I guess looking at the governor's budget, I thought he had just a small number in there for bonding money, and I was thinking it was 62 million.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say our chances are slim of getting any additional dollars, but I have talked with Representative Dill about that.
Good.
So, where does that put us?
Well, first, or if I could, Mr. Chair,
Please.
first thing first, I think we certainly need somebody at that meeting.
Yes, on April the 1st.
So I would offer that motion, authorizing the chair, or actually, maybe it's a board activity. Yeah,
Anyone that-
we have two members down there, if for some reason you can't go, we gotta have somebody there. So I would offer that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Pavlik then to authorize a travel expense to the meeting with the State Office of Management and Budget with regard to the terminal project. Second by Commissioner Briggs. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried, so the travel is authorized. We'll work our best to get down there. I know I've got to be in Rochester on Monday and Tuesday, so I'll just have to see what we can do to work that out.
Okay, and Bob, if that doesn't work, we can certainly make a phone call work as well.
Okay? And maybe several of us can get on that phone call at the same time.
Or if you can't make it, let us know.
Yep.
I think it'd be good to have somebody there in
Yes.
person.
Yep.
Because this is critical.
Yep.
This might-
Yeah, and one thing I know they've already talked about, and I'll bring it to your attention, is because the funding, or just even entitlement funding, is only guaranteed right now through September 30th of this year. And in order to access bond funds, they want to have proof that you have the total funding package in hand. We don't, because we're only authorized through September 30th and we don't know what the next authorization will be, we don't have that proof. And what a solution to that they have brought up is that the community, the airport, takes out a line of credit to cover a portion of the project that we don't have proof that we have in hand. And that may be a line of credit of, $1 million, of $2 million, something along those lines, that you never use. So it's just to show that you have it in case the entitlement funds don't come. But that being said, if the entitlement funds don't come, that would be what would fund the remaining portion of the terminal.
Or if I could, and the source of that money is what?
Line of credit.
With that would be a local liability, I would assume then?
Yes.
Well, we would be entitled, assuming that everything continues as we have seen for the past 40 years, we would be entitled to future dollars, though, in future years.
Right, and so it would be a line of credit that you would, as I said, you would never use, but it guarantees the project could be constructed. It's just something to think about at this time, and I'm not even sure, that is something they brought up in previous meetings, and I'm assuming they're going to bring that up at this meeting, the meeting on April 1st.
Okay, well, something we'll have to address. All right, further on the terminal project.
Yeah, one more thing. So we're looking, I did have schedules that I wanted to go over with everyone, but I'll just verbally go over it with you. We are right now working on bonding, of course. We're also working, we have submitted schematic designs back to GSA, TSA, Customs and Border Patrol, and to SkyWest. We have heard from everybody that they've received them, and they're reviewing them, and that was submitted on February 24th. And so far, we've only heard back from SkyWest. And so we're working to get approval of the schematic design, and then we are going to start repackaging the project in July. And the source of the redesigned funding will come from MnDOT Aeronautics. And there's still a question of if that will be inclusive of their $1.5 million or in addition to. Right now, we have heard from them that they have, that $15 million is not being spent. So we have heard that they do have some excess funds at MnDOT to spend, which hopefully will work out in our favor.
Great.
So I wanted to bring you aware of that. So we'll have another contract April, probably at the May meeting, if not maybe even at the next meeting for that repackaging effort.
Very good. Very positive. Thank you.
And one other thing, I think I brought this up before, but the FAA is now wants to approve plans and specifications for projects before we advertise. So there's another step in there now that we need to submit to them. And this year it's 30 days, and now next year it will be a 90-day effort on their part. So that just pushes things out a little further, but we're still looking to advertise for the terminal project. We're looking for a bid opening in February, mid-February.
2016.
2016, yep.
Okay.
So we're looking to push it as early as possible. The FAA has now moved the pre-application packages to December 15th. So, and that's going to be a yearly thing. So pre-application packages will be due December 15th. And what they're looking for in pre-application packages is the entire application package minus the bid number. So what that means is we just need to be much more ahead of the curve than it's been in the past.
And I guess go ahead, Commissioner Pavlik. Well, I'm just trying to figure out how we corral the customs folks here in this process. I mean, we haven't been successful to date, and so I'm trying to figure out in my own mind how we're going to get them into the circle here.
Yeah, I don't know, Bob. That's a tough one. Unless we travel to meet with them, maybe that's the solution.
Well, the person that was overseeing this was in Indiana, as I remember.
Right.
There's nobody in this.
We went through many iterations last go-round, and we've made all the corrections revisions that she has requested. So at this point, it should be easy, although they've had it already for a month and we haven't heard anything back. So I'll keep on her.
Okay. Let us know what we need to do. We need to call our congressman on this one. This may be one of those that we've got to go to the well for.
Yeah. I mean, it's nice in this schedule because we have time.
Yes.
But I don't want to get to the end here and run out of time.
Yeah, you invite them to the dance and,
Is it the same person?
yes, at least unless something changed.
Yeah, so far it's the same person.
Okay, just so we got that one on our screen. Commissioner Pavlik.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To that point, have we sat down with Tony? Is there any chance he could be
He understands it, but it's up a couple of steps above him, and I think if we can get her approval, be good. We can bring him into the picture, but I'm not sure how much leverage he'll have with her.
I guess, or if I could, Mr. Chair.
I just, at the federal level with that bureaucracy, they're a little hesitant to step on toes above them.
Yes. Yep.
That's where it might have to get known.
That's right. That's where you gotta maybe start playing that political card.
Even the word entitlements, you have to be careful who you're saying that to at the congressional level, I can tell you that. Having said that, Bob Neveline is here, Bob, and, you know, when I see him, I think of a project we're doing in Cap Togama, and we've bid it, what, 3 times?
Yep.
And his construction costs are way above the engineer's estimates, and have been each time. So as we look to this project, phase 1 and phase 2, and I got a phone call, well, I just got back from a trip myself, but one of the questions this person had was, what are the engineer's estimates on phase 1 and phase 2 in round numbers? Can you give it to us where we're at today?
Yes, if you can give me a second, I'll go grab the estimate.
Okay, thank you. So we've got the answer.
So we commit higher again.
Yeah, there's just no way, we did knock 200,000.
Yeah, but it's still 600,000 over.
Well, the engineer's estimate, this is the 3rd time. So, I guess that made me a little concerned on that project.
Mhm.
Actually, they came in,
Crane Lake
below
came in, yeah.
estimates at Crane Lake.
Wow.
You know, so just,
You just wonder how in the world does this happen?
yeah. Very frustrating trying to get these projects done. Of course, we're gonna be facing, you know, these issues when we get up here. So anyway, we're working on federal dollars now. That's our goal. The only player not in the game here is the federal government, and a lot of it's got federal implications, which is frustrating. But nothing, again, it goes back to Congress. You cannot get anything done. Worst I've ever seen it.
Who's still on line? Is Sean there?
Sean is there, yeah.
Yep, I'm still here.
Sean, on this, well, we got a second here, on the wildlife study, and you prepare everything, and where is that posted? Is that all online, or is it posted locally too? Is anybody here qualified to apply for that, or?
You know, the FAA through Embry-Riddle, they're an aeronautical school down in Florida. For some reason, Embry-Riddle University manages a lot of the qualified wildlife biologists. I'm not sure the connection there, but they have a list that the FAA qualified, certified biologists register with. There's only maybe 20 individuals on that list, some associated with companies, some that are just private individuals.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if that's all inclusive or not.
They've got a huge lobbying contingency.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a fascinating, but that's the truth.
So
We
we're
haven't
gonna-
got any alligators
I was
up
gonna say,
here.
I don't know if looking for alligators and rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Pythons.
Well, I don't know whether Lee Grimm could be certified or not. I think that we ought to keep that one in mind, because he has done the 2 previous studies, and so if there's some way to get him certified, we might want to do that. Whether he wants to, I don't know.
Yeah, I'd be happy to give him a call and just kind of talk him through and see
Yeah.
where his certifications lie, and if that's something that he can acquire in a certain time frame. The list of about 20, and I would just recommend mailing the RFP, request for proposals, to 3 or 4 of them that are somewhat local. There's a few in the Dakotas, I think 1 in Minnesota. Generally, most of them are in the South. So we'll find a few that would recommend mailing the proposal to. And then I do believe we advertise someplace as well. I'll look at the details on that, just so anybody that is interested can find that RFP and submit.
Sean, do you have a pencil and paper there?
I do.
Lee Grimm's cell phone number, 218-240-5125.
5125. I copied. I'll give him a call and just,
See what his interest is.
What his intentions are.
Okay, thank you.
Let me guess, it costs about $30,000 to
Okay.
get certified.
I would guarantee.
Yeah.
Is Bob back?
I'm back with the estimate.
Okay,
So, Wade, to answer your question, the one thing we did differently than on this estimate is we're working with Kraus Anderson. But they have not done a detailed estimate at this time. What we've been working from is the actual bid number of 13 million. So if you remember right, our engineer's estimate was 9.9 million, 10 million, and the project came in at 12.9 or 13 million.
Yep.
So we're working from that $13 million number, because that is the factual known number that somebody was gonna pay, or get paid to build the building. And we started reducing, taking items out that we discussed with you a couple commission meetings ago. And we brought the construction cost down to 8.8 million. And that's for phase 1. So phase 2 is 2.8 million for a total project cost of 11.7 million. Now, that does not include Kraus Anderson construction fees, reimbursable, and so on. So, and our repackaging fees. So total project cost with all those costs included for phase 1 right now is 10.4 million. Phase 2 is 3.2 million. So total project cost is 13.68 million. Now, through our repackaging effort, we are going to look for ways to further reduce that number. And we're going to then, look for ways to fund the different pieces. So that's where we're at right now. And again, this is based on 13 million, not an engineer's estimate. And once we get the total plans put together and repackaged, Kraus Anderson is going to run through it and do a more detailed cost estimate with talking to subs that they know are going to be bidding on the project.
Bob, could you remind us what we have available as of this moment?
Right now, we've got 4 million in entitlements. We've got 1.5 million from state aeronautics, 1 million locally, and 2.2 million in bond. So we have 8.7 million available right now. Now, keep in mind that the project is going to be over 2 or 3 years, so each year we can grab another $1 million in entitlement dollars. And then we're going to be getting 500,000 back from Bemidji and 100,000 from Grand Rapids. So those will be in addition to the funding that we have available. We're also seeking additional bond funds. But that's what we have in hand right now. And the project duration of phase 1 is 12 months and phase 2 is 8 months.
Mr. Chair, I think there was an email last night from MRCC that Republicans said there will be no bond. Bill?
for this year?
Yeah, that's
Yep.
what they said last night.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm not either.
But
So,
that's all negotiating too.
Yeah.
but in the bigger picture here, our $1 million would leverage 12.68 at
Yes.
the original estimate, and if we did that now, it reduces the cost, but it's still a big leverage for overall.
Yes.
Well, anyway, that's helpful. I think and you can keep us updated as we go through the process there, but we appreciate it.
Yeah, we're gonna keep refining it, and we're gonna keep looking for ways to reduce the cost.
Very good. Further on the terminal building project then,
I think that's all I have right now.
anything else under the engineer's report?
No, we'll be up to visit between this month and next month to look at pavement and talk about signs.
Yeah, one other thing that just popped into my mind are the lease agreements that need to go to MMB. And Kyra did submit the lease agreements to me. They were submitted to MMB, but there's also a checklist that goes along with that needs to be completed locally. Somebody who reviews your contracts. And I don't know, Kyra, if that is in the works.
Steve Sherman is gone, or he's leaving today, so I haven't gotten that checklist to him.
Okay.
But he's the city attorney and he has done the airport agreements.
Okay, so I think he needs to complete that checklist because there are things that the MMB is gonna require that go into the new lease agreements. That I assume he's gonna be the person writing those new lease agreements, and reviewing the language that MMB is going to be requesting be included.
Some provisions that they want for protection.
Right.
Okay. All right.
And so that's an early piece we can get to MMB, and that's going to take time because they have to review it, they have to go to Steve, and then it has to go out to all the people that you're leasing to. They need to approve it, so I'm sure that could take quite a bit of time.
Very good. Commissioner Pavlik.
I'm just gonna say, Bob, I'm looking at these numbers you just gave us, and I was wondering if you worked in a discount for these contractors having the pleasure to work with Thor.
Yes. It's never an easy journey for them once they get to us.
All right. Further under engineering report.
I think that's it.
Okay. Do you want to stay on the line while we go through the manager's report and other items?
Yeah.
All right. We'll don't have anything under old business or new business unless someone does. We'll go to the manager's report.
Starting off with a question, any follow-up or dialogue needed with the Mrs. Peck's property? Have we done anything there? Is anything coming forward?
No, I think we've
No.
we've sent her information and talked with the potential purchaser of that property, Mr. Whitbeck, and I don't know where they are in their negotiations on buying.
And they have not contacted me either, so I'm just curious where we're at and help us suspect. Thank you. Quickly, please.
Mr. Chair, before we leave that, I mean, if we feel it's, I'm wondering if we should actually approach
Certainly.
her. And I guess it's kind of up to the board, and I don't wanna interfere in the property purchase.
Well, I think, I sent her a letter assuring her that if they wanted to put up a building, that would be allowed. Had that indication from the commission, and I think that that's all that the purchaser was looking for. Walt Whitbeck was looking for was just an indication that he could put up another building should he desire to do that. And so I have not heard if their purchase agreement's going forward or not. But she was aware of that also.
Continuing, in regards to skid steer purchase, kind of an interesting story and the government regulation. Been working with Beniter and with the Bobcat dealer in Bemidji, Minnesota regarding our skid steer purchase, which will be funded by the MnDOT in July. Came to our attention that a lot of the equipment manufacturers are selling their latest engine versions before the engine's requirements change in another month. So to make a long story simple and short, EPA Ultimate Green agenda, they're changing requirements on the new diesel engines for all their engines 25 horsepower or above, which not only is a maintenance nightmare, it also adds a cost to, like as an example, an $85,000 skid steer, $7,000. So what I attempted to do was, working with Mina and with MnDOT to see if we could sequester the funds early, at least get some guarantees, place the order, this was 3 weeks ago now at this point, get it in the hopper, and then get it issued, and then get the funding done come July with no risk to the Airport Commission. Unfortunately, combination of both MnDOT and Bobcat said we can't do it. Bobcat thought they could delay the delivery for 2 to 3 months. They said no, we're spooling up as fast as we can because demand is so high for people who I believe are justifiably concerned about their purchasing all of these tier 3 level engines at this time. Ironically, just yesterday, a engineer from Cook County called me regarding some airports. He's had some airport questions in his county, and we were sharing stories about the EPA, and they pulled the trigger early on 2 large John Deere graders for that exact reason, just to avoid the latest tier 4 engines, because they as we are thinking, or I'm thinking that it's going to be a maintenance nightmare and much more costly at the front end, let alone downtime downstream. Quick sidebar story: all of our latest snow removal equipment, anything that we purchased in the last 4 years, 3 to 4 years, all of it is the maintenance requirements and the computerization is incredible, all due to EPA standards and regulations and the green canvas. So unfortunately, if you notice on another sidebar story, the EPA is now always looking at regulating grills, backyard grills. They've actually come to Congress and said we want to introduce legislation that grilling is bad for you, which is fascinating. I digress. Thank you. On the level of government bureaucracy, also gone wild. TSA, has come out with a new requirement regulation. This is fascinating, and this sounds fictional, but I'm about to share. Kind of cool. So TSA is now requiring us to have another separate agreement with law enforcement, i.e. whoever the law enforcement, we work with both, because as you know, basically half the airport is city, half the airport is county, and so the delineation lines are kind of interesting. To make a long story semi-short, TSA is requiring us to develop an agreement with the county and the city that says this, that if a suspicious vehicle is in the parking lot and they think that there is a explosive device inside that truck, that when we call law enforcement, they will respond. I said, I'm pretty sure that if I call the city or I call the county and tell them we have an issue, they're not going to respond. They didn't like that answer. They want it in paper, so another 6, 7, 8 pages of dialogue and check. We'll take care of it. I'll work with Musich and I'll work with parent non-issue. We'll get it done. But it's fascinating that they actually are requiring such a document. I mean, do they really think that they're not going to respond? I mean, it's just fascinating. Forgive me. On a level of working with Jeff Wig at Brainerd, a nice gentleman. He has never experienced a triennial disaster exercise, and so he's asking some direction on that. He emailed me just this morning, so I'll email Jeff back and let him know that ours is coming up. Our triennial every 3 years is coming up come August, so I'll be sure that if he wants to come up here and piggyback with us for a couple of days, we'll take good care of Jeff and do our best to help along. It's kind of a complex process, but working with Manasa, I've been Manasa worked with us at the airport for years, and that really helps. So, yeah. Other than that, we're experiencing some little late snow here. It's a non-issue to us, but it's going to be, which is wonderful. We're on the backside of winter and going into spring, and so it's warming up. But yeah, other than that, continuing on looking for a good summer. I hope the bookings I was very concerned midwinter, talking with associates and friends who have camps, flying camps. My brother-in-law David Dillon, my sister Tucky, and nephew Drake own and operate a nice lodge north of Thunder Bay, and they were very concerned up to about a month ago. And strangely, about 30 days ago, the bookings now are record bookings. And talking with the Canadian operators, that's what's happening. It's fascinating. They're definitely, whether that's a fuel cost, exactly, it's a Canadian dollar issue.
Canadian dollar,
It's a
that's
money,
what it
it's a energy cost issue, i.e. gas, has a huge effect. People shop and that's wonderful to hear, because generally for us at the airport, if the cleaning operators are busy, we're busy, and that's kind of 1-for-1. So hoping and praying for the best, and we'll see what the summer brings.
Good.
Thank you.
Please, start this, the tier 3 and tier 4, or tier
Yes.
2, whatever it is that all to do with biodiesel and
Yeah,
upgrading these engines?
biodiesel, emission standards, and what else, too, is that, as an example, on that tier 4 engine at that level, it has to have a urea injector, so you have to have a extra tank on the engine to get the emission standards. If I may keep going with that answer thing, we just had a company here working with Paul and Nicole Weather Testers, with some light plants and some heating units, large outdoor diesel powered heating units. And those are the exact issues they're dealing with. They're trying to get the bugs out of those systems, so it's very interesting. Oh, no question. It's already there.
It's already there.
It's
It's
getting
already
worse.
have that urea tank.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
That's why Navistar has spent so much time here, because they went a different route. All the other manufacturers, Cat, and went the urea route, and it's an engineering nightmare, it's a maintenance nightmare, and the cost is gonna be borne by all this.
If I may digress again one more time, if our stormwater equipment, if we have an engine issue with it, I'm not bragging, factually, I've got some really sharp mechanical people on my staff. They're computer savvy, and we have tried our best to learn it on our own. You can't. The systems are foolproof. They make it. You can't.
Shut the piece of equipment
Oh,
down.
it's done. It shuts it down. The runway will shut down. I mean, it's totally crazy, and that's the EPA. That's the new green agenda rule right there.
And they don't care if they shut the world down.
They absolutely do not care.
Not gonna shut the world down, just shut us down, the rest of the world don't care.
That's right.
They're the problem, not us.
Further questions or Thor? Thank you, Thor.
Thank you.
Go to the Secretary's report. Kyra?
I have a number of things. One thing, Dish Network, I was contacted by Dish Network in regards to the receiver out at the airport was outdated, and so they went in and they replaced that. They did that last Monday?
That's correct.
And due to the package change and the way that they package channels, they actually lessened our cost by roughly $15. So by putting in that new receiver, it's saving us money in the long run.
Good work.
Then, let's see, I've been working with Chris at the NOAA office, and getting those leases in place for their office space as well as the tower for the land use out there. We decided we're gonna create 2 separate leases because of the terminal expansion and not undetermined space amount at this time. So at least we can get the land lease in place, and they want to sign a lease for 20 years. So Steve Shimon has those documents, and we'll be working on those when he returns to get those leases created and go from there. So that's all in play. The grants I touched on with the AIP 2411, that grant is in the closeout status. Bob signed the paperwork, and I will be mailing those out to Don Berry today, so we can get that one closed out. And we are also working on 2012, getting that closed out now. There's just a couple of invoices, I believe, that need to be claimed yet, and I pulled a couple of them and just have to double check. We did make an overpayment, or MnDOT made an overpayment to us, because I submitted claims that I weren't aware that had already been submitted, so they've taken those off, and it'll all work out. I've been working with Don and Chris at SEH to get that completed. So 2012 will be next to close out, and then we will keep moving on up the line with 13 and 14. Employments are in your package there. Up a little bit for February. And the numbers show there. down a little bit from last year. And then, in your packets, I created a couple of spreadsheets just to kind of show you what I've been working on in regards to the airport leases and contracts. There's so many contracts and leases out there that it was hard to kind of keep straight, so I just created this spreadsheet to kind of keep me in check of when those dates are expiring, so that you don't let anything go beyond their expiration date. And also how much, you know, they're paying us monthly or annually. In regards to the hangar leases, we talked about a little bit last month. I invoiced all of the new hangars that were put up, and we've received 2 of the 3 payments right now. I've done a lot of research on the old hangars and trying to track down, you know, the owners and if those leases exist. I haven't found any leases, and so I talked to Steve Shermone, and he recreated the leases with starting January 1 of 2015. I was able to find the minutes from 1995 that stated the agreement between the hangar owners and the airport commission in regards to if there was a 20-year rent forgiveness if they were to pay into their hangar there. So I found those minutes to document that 20 years comes up to January 1 of 2015. So all the old hangars, I will be beginning to invoice those once I can track down all their contact information and whatnot.
Well, but I can tell you, those were lively meetings, to say the least.
Sure.
But yeah, they did the paving between the taxiway and their hangar. They put in that improvement, and so we gave them forgiveness on that lease rent for that period of time.
So I'll begin that, and like I said, Steve brought the hangar leases over yesterday, so I can get in contact with those owners and have them sign. I don't know what the best way to do it is, if I send out the lease to them along with the invoice, have them sign and mail it back, or if I, you know, so I guess that's kind of your decision on how I should approach that.
Well, that's a good approach. Send them both the lease, renewed lease for the 10 years, and then 5 years and 5 years. Is it?
I believe we did 10-year lease with an agreement in 5 years.
Okay.
Or,
Review in 5
a
years?
review in 5 years.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sure. Okay, and we did send out letters, I mean, this is something that we're.
You know, I just got contact, or was able to.
You just got in the end.
Get some information. I don't have everyone's information, and so I've been trying to do some tracking down of that information. So I don't, to my knowledge, they would not be aware of what's
Well, I
happening.
think for Kyrie's protection, because she'll get the phone calls, I think we wanna make sure everyone understands they're free to come to the board here.
Yep.
You know. We can address it there, how's that?
And I will also maybe send a letter along with them stating I'm the new
Yeah.
secretary, and you know, this is kind of, you know, give my contact information along with it, and let them know, you know, our meetings are, if they'd like to be on the email list, the notification list, they can send me their email and whatnot.
And you love know this is all your idea.
Yeah.
Any trouble, steer them to me.
Yeah.
Because you have some lively people out there, and you'll be the contact, so I wanna
Sure,
make sure
sure.
you had a way of moving on to this. Thank you, good job.
Further?
Chair,
That's good.
if I could, I just suggest maybe, you know, I mean, you have a copy of that, the minutes from when them was created with that thing in there. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to send that at the same time.
Yep. Send them a copy of that
Yeah.
minutes back from 95.
Yep, so then it reflects to it.
Because they won't remember that.
Well, some of them will, but some of the other ones might not, you know.
Yeah. Or where they transferred in between.
Yeah.
Some of them might not be aware.
You know, and perfect, Mr. Chair, and I mean, if there's a lot of problems, we can have a meeting with them.
Yep. Making progress.
then, our phone number for the airport commission has been, set up. It is not ringing to our phones, however, at the moment because of the way that our phone lines are configured. Jeff Morrison is checking into to get that hooked up, so it's still in the process, but I can give you the new telephone number, which is 218-373-1073. And then once that's hooked up, we're hoping within this week it'll be finalized, so then that will start ringing to our office.
Great. Thank you.
I've been doing a lot of research also on different marketing options because of what happened with our last marketing grant of that 20,000 going back. I was questioned by MnDOT to ensure that we are going to spend our full 2015 grant and not letting anything go back, and then preparing for next year's grant. So in doing a little bit of research and tracking down what our current marketing is, where we're sitting currently, we will have roughly $6,000 left that we will not spend on this particular grant. So I contacted JJ at KGHS and just wondered of what they have available in addition to our Noon News and the Bronco ads. And she put in there, there's a form of some sponsorships for the Twins. And then there's another sheet that she explains of some other summer programs that are available. And then I also contacted, the Dryden Observer. We've used them in the past, and we do not have a current contract with them. And so I've got some pricing there. If we want to do another ad banner, they would set that up again for us, and that would be $100 a month with a 6-month minimum. And then I also contacted CKDR up in Dryden, which is their radio station. They're a sister company to CFOB, and just kind of got some prices just to see what's kind of out there. So I know you, Mr. Prado had referenced advertising more in the Dryden Red Lake area up that way. So I just kind of got some different prices of what's out there and what we could potentially do to use up the remaining of this grant, and then as well for next year.
Well, I think we certainly need to renew our advertising in the Dryden Observer. I think we need to get that back on, and I think we ought to, I don't know what kind of number you want to put on the radio station up there, but I think we ought to get on that radio station up there too for the next few months. As well, and I guess I'll just chime in here. How about the Twins package? If we were to get on that with the local stations with advertising, which gives us advertising on each of the broadcasts. Thoughts on that? Yeah, I mean, 60% of this is coming from the state, and
I would think that figure would be broadcast local to people, and it's fairly popular with people.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying the
base
base is loaded? Okay.
I would concur.
All right. If you want to make that a motion, that one, Dryden Observer, and that we get a package up in on the Dryden radio station.
So,
advertising.
Mr. Chairman, on the back of that radio piece, there's the pricing on those. Are we looking at a 6-month? I think it's really just.
Yeah, I would think 5,700, which is gonna take care of that 6,000.
Come right close, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
A little bit left, we could always.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Briggs to do those 3 items.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Nevin. Further discussion? Mark, please.
Right, there's, our employments were up, and there's no doubt in my mind, a lot of it's due to our marketing efforts in Ontario. I'm not sure on Kenora, because, you know, the Dryden Observer definitely goes up to Red Lake, I see it up there all the time, but I don't see anything from Kenora. I'm not sure if they even have a paper, if they use the Dryden, but Kenora's big enough where I assume they probably do have their own publication, and that is the other center of population. We're kind of competing with Winnipeg there, but a lot of people from Kenora prefer this free parking, and, you know, they don't, people fly right out of the United States and US destinations. I know that from Carol, I spent a lot of time at that big hotel down there, and people talk about that. Promote our area here. So I'm just, you know, maybe they don't have a publication, I don't know if that's something.
Well, the Kenora, I don't remember what the name of the paper is, but I thought we had.
We have the Agricultural Press. And the Northern Sun News, and I don't know exactly where they are located. But I can definitely do some more research in that area and see what I can come up with for advertising options.
I think we don't want to.
Do we want to hold off on some of this to save room for that?
Well, we can also, we're gonna, come July 1st, we're gonna have a new contract. So I think we can get back into
Kenora
it
Daily
again.
News, their Daily Miner and News.
That Daily Miner, there you go.
So I think Kenora's definitely a market we want to be in too.
Yes.
Because it's,
Well, it certainly wouldn't hurt. Give it a try.
and Thor, I mean, you're out there all the time, and I know, I drive through there and see a lot of Canada license plates, so, and our employments, like you say, Duluth's
Oh, yeah.
down. I look at the other areas, I mean,
It's a huge component.
yep, we've been
No
doing
question.
really well.
Okay?
Yeah, where's the Northern Sun again? That was, is that?
Northern Sun, I don't know where it's published, but I see that in Red Lake, so it's up there.
Just looking at our previous Sun with the other,
Deer Falls covers that whole area.
and that Drive radio station, if you look at the reach there, it's pretty
Strong.
pretty extensive, yeah.
Northern Sun, Red Lake.
So anyway, we can bring that back up on July.
Yep.
I think we should at least look at it.
All right. No further question with regard to that. We'll call the question. All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Mr. Chair, I will abstain.
One abstention on the vote on the marketing package. Thank you.
Just to clarify on the Observer, did we want to do 6 months?
12 months.
12 months? Okay.
That was $100 a month.
Yep.
Yep, okay.
Okay.
Further.
Again, with the marketing piece, I think free advertisement is a great way to go. In looking at Hibbing, they have a Facebook page where they will post, right now with their construction season, or they're constructing their new terminal, they are posting updates on the terminal and just different things, their flight schedules or, you know, summer hours and things like that. I think it would be a positive thing to have a Facebook page out there. Like I said, it's free advertising out there to get people aware of it. So that, again, is another option if the commission should choose to.
Larry, you're determined to bring us into the modern world. here.
Well, I just think marketing is huge, and people don't, you know, especially free advertising.
If you can get us on Facebook and do it as part of your work, let's,
Whatever you need there.
Mr. Chair, Harry's got the Kita on Facebook, and it's amazing the reach of that as well. And as a tool, like you said, it's free, and especially for that target, that demographic audience, that's how they reach the world, so I think that's a great idea. You can see the Hibbing Facebook, it's in the package too, the progression of the construction, and then the feedback from people, so I think it's a good step.
So a motion would be in order then to,
Why don't we move that, Mr.
motion by Commissioner Pavlik to have the executive secretary establish the Falls International Airport on Facebook. Second by Commissioner Briggs. Discussion?
I would just say that, you know, you talk about the reach of Facebook, I noticed on Facebook last night, somebody looked, you know, where can I find the posting for jobs in Cooch County? And I know I've seen it on Facebook, that Kyra's posted that before, so people are aware of it and are looking for it.
Totally alien to me.
Just one last thing, that's the other nice thing about this, it's measurable to a degree, because you can see how many likes you get, you can see how many people are interfacing with it, and with a lot of the other advertising, you know, some of the radio stuff is a little harder to measure, but, you know, when you can measure it, get analytics, it's always helpful too, just to get.
So you see the hits or the number of people who like that. Wow, that's great.
Yeah, like if you see it on their page here, I'll just show you. They've got 483 likes on their Hibbing page, and you know 1,254 people have visited it. So you know it's definitely you can get detailed information on how many people viewed your post or how many people shared it. You know, if one person shares it, that adds a whole another 300 people that see your post. And the reach is remarkable with this particular
You
thing.
can certainly see our Canada group. People
Yes.
doing something like that.
Well, the millennials certainly like to go that way.
Okay.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried.
Thank you, Kyra.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Next, I just put a sample of the ad that we placed in the Fort Francis Business Directory, and I created this ad. The commission decided they wanted to change with the ad that was ran in the border waters and wanted to see an airplane in there and whatnot. So I just created this with Mr. Anderson's approval. I put the QR code on there, which is easy access for cell phones. They can scan that code, it goes directly to our website. And so that was placed in the Fort Francis Business Directory and will also go into the border waters. So I just wanted to give you a sample, or have you see what that looked like.
So now, Commissioner Pavlik, we do have a graphics department within.
I am impressed.
There's another form for the Northern Sun News. In looking on their website, I wasn't finding our ad banner very easily on there, so I contacted them and they made sure that they put it up right front and center, and it is right front and center on every single page. So it's very visible now. And then I have recently taken over the rights for the airport website, and so I can go in. I went in to make changes in regards to Commissioner Rogner, who is no longer on the board, and put Commissioner Briggs' name in place of theirs. I also was able to pull some analytics from the website to just kind of show you of how our website is, how many hits our website's getting and things like that. So just another little sample of what information can be pulled now that I've taken that over.
Wonderful.
And then I put a sample of our brochure in your packet. Paul went out to the airport and was able to find 3 boxes that did you have these, Thor?
I did.
And there's 3 boxes of roughly 2,000 each that have never had anything done with. So I'm just wondering if the commission wants to get these out to local hotels or resorts in the area, over to the chamber, Fort Francis Chamber. I think there's a lot of places that we could display these that aren't gonna cost us to display. And at least get them out there anyway. There's no use of them sitting
In a box.
in a box, right?
Right.
All of the
Yes.
above.
Yes.
Would you give me a bunch? Harley and I go down to the cities for this convention deal.
Yep. The conference you're gonna
Conference
have.
over
Yep.
there. Hand them out while we're there.
Okay. Good.
And if you
Bob?
would, Kerry's in charge of the Lake Association out there, so if you wanted to have some distributed at the resorts out there at CAB, if I could get a bunch from you, and then I can have her put them in the resorts possibly, you know.
Great. Okay, and then last, the ad boards in the terminal building in the baggage claim area.
Kara, you have been a lot of work.
I've been busy this week.
You've been
yes.
busy. Extraordinary.
Interesting to find there's no agreements with any of these businesses that are advertising out there. Just out of curiosity, I had called one of the people that's advertising in there because their ad is very new, and so I just called to find out how they got their ad in there and whatnot. And in talking to her, she said that she has no contract with them. She was approached by an employee at the airport, I'm assuming Sky West, who asked for their ad to be placed in there to cover up an old ad. I believe it was for the mall. And so she created an ad, and one of the airport employees put their ad into the frame for them, without anybody, you know, so I don't know, who has control over those boards, who has keys. I have not seen anything. My plan was to kind of contact that employee just to see, you know, who is authorized for these and whatnot. I also contacted Sean in Hibbing to see, just to kind of get an idea of what they would charge for something of this. And he said they charge $60 per quarter per board. So, you know, to create some sort of an agreement, contact these businesses, see if they're still interested in advertising in those boards, create an agreement, whether you want, the commission decides to do $60 a quarter, the same as Hibbing, or whatever the amount should be. I think there should be some sort of charge for those boards to be utilized. And there's a few of them that are no longer in business, some have changed hands. They're very, very outdated.
Yeah, we need a good follow-up on that. I thought we were collecting, I was thinking it was around $100 a year.
Okay.
Is what I thought we were collecting, but I would have, Susan would have to tell us.
I would guess $100 a year would be a reasonable amount.
I think it's almost embarrassing, but because ultimately the responsibility lies.
There's some dollars there.
Yep.
You just see what Tara's got here, and there's a number of that are outdated, and people don't even work there anymore.
Right.
So they need to be updated. But I don't know how deep we really need to want to go right now. I mean, we gotta do something with it, but, you know, we possibly have a new terminal coming.
That's right.
So,
But
we don't wanna spend a whole lot of time and money on it, but we should be.
If she has time to work on them, I think we should.
Yeah.
At least, I think, send a letter to them
Yep.
and stating, you know, are they still interested in advertising? You know, I can explain, we will be going through a terminal expansion.
Well, I think we should have some kind of a lease agreement with each of them, you know, that spells out what they're gonna have to pay to keep them.
Carl, so you know, we have the keys to East Display Case, and it's been an ongoing issue for years, you know, what have you. But, you know, if my understanding correctly, so Hibbing is getting, $240 a year, is that correct? Per
60 quarters.
Yep,
60.
60
Right.
a quarter.
So, just to kind of give an idea where, you know.
I don't think we've raised that in 15 years, maybe longer. So I think a letter to each of them to see if they want to continue, and that, what do we want to put as a rate?
Why don't we leave it?
At
If you think
$100 for
100,
now.
I'll make a motion for $100.
Okay, we would notify them that the cost of continuing their ad frame in the airport at $100 per year, and that would cover for 2015. Motion second by Commissioner McBride. Further discussion?
Should I put in there a deadline date for them to contact me back before we take their signs out?
Yep.
But the bigger issue, who is gonna be the person that's contacted as people change signs, you know, wanna get on there, et cetera. I know one of the issues that's come up that I've been asked is about having a huge space for big stuff. You know, not having a new term money, I don't think it's something we want to address. When it comes to the income side of it, there are people who are willing, sounds like a couple anyway, willing to pay bigger money to have something that really stands out. And I don't know that we've even discussed that as part of the internal. So I guess what I'm getting at, I can see by the dilemma we've had here that we don't have a contact person. I don't know if that person would be Thor or Kyra or there, you know, someone under them, but we need somebody to kind of oversee it.
And I, excuse me, go ahead.
Well, and if we remember Brainerd, they went to a cleaner look where they just did a video screen with
Yes.
advertising, which,
Remember, yeah,
you know,
electronic.
Good point.
it looks more uniform. But it's a little alarming that there are people out there with keys that can make these decisions unilaterally to put advertising in, and we're leaving money on the table. So at least let's get control over that situation. Let's get some revenue out of here, and you know, with the hope of a new terminal that we'll review it. But in the interim, I think it's good just to. It's another thing that it's a little alarming as Kyra's dug into some of the stuff, that there's a lack of documentation on some of the stuff, but we're getting there.
We have a new phone number.
Yes.
To be posted.
So, yeah, I would
You
think,
wait, you wait,
the
Governor.
date of, if they don't need to know by, May the 15th or something, we're gonna take their ad up.
We're just gonna have an automatic transfer button.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
But you've got keys to it.
Yes, we do.
Further discussion with regard to that motion then to charge $100 per frame?
Sorry, what did the first?
The
Motion was by
Brian.
Commissioner Briggs and seconded by Commissioner McBride.
And beginning when, we'll just leave that open?
We're gonna, beginning right now, and, but they have to let us know by May the 15th. And if they don't, then we're gonna take their, open up and take their sign out.
But I guess what I'm getting at, are we gonna start the billing process?
So it'd be for this year.
Calendar year.
For the calendar year
Good.
2015.
Perfect. So,
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Go forth with that. Further.
And that's all I have.
Well, I
that's
think
quite enough.
we've got one other issue, and
Make us money here.
that's the files.
Yes.
We need to, we're having an issue securing all of the files. And we believe some of them may be still with the former executive secretary at her home. And so, I guess Kyra and I discussed this, and we're thinking that maybe we need to send a certified letter saying that we want those files turned over and that we're prepared to go pick them up. But we need to have them in a certain date here, because this has been dragging out. We've gotten a few boxes, but we believe there's still some that are not there.
We discovered some in the terminal building, in the storage area in the terminal building. There's 2 file cabinets that we need to secure.
Well, okay, Mr. Chair, my own thoughts are, we do need to secure those, I don't know.
They're public property.
Yeah, and there could be other effects of not having this, is what I'm
Yes.
getting at. I don't know that we need a certified letter, I think we can send the proper authority over to secure them right now.
Well, I was thinking that the certified letter first before we went to getting the gendarmes.
Just so nothing, my thinking is just so nothing gets lost or misplaced. Or destroyed.
Well,
And we don't recover them. Because it's whoever just said, they want them public.
so a motion would be in order to send a certified letter to the executive secretary. Motion by Commissioner McBride, second by Commissioner Nevenin, to send a certified letter requesting that all files be turned over to the PETA office immediately. Yep. Further discussion? All those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried, and I will sign that letter, so we'll get together and send that.
But to even if assistance needs to be looked at.
Yes, we will provide that assistance.
There's no issue.
Yes. Thank you. Any further questions for Kyra? Reports from members.
Kyra wore me out, which is good. Mr. Chair, the only comment I'm gonna make, I don't know if you followed the situation Duluth is in, where they're looking at reduced flights.
Yes, yeah.
So, again, I think it makes it more critical for us to keep a functional airport here if we're gonna stay in business, but it goes back to the short hauls that we've been talking about, so we are kind of uniquely situated here because of our location, which in this case may help us, because I think they're looking at Duluth again as close to the Twin Cities and you know, both the airlines and the government not doing as much right now. But with that.
Well, and I think just to follow on that, Allegiant is going to be pulling out, which I think is going to take, and I know that there have been some citizens from this area that went down and got onto Allegiant flights. I think that will bring some of them back to the Laughlin flights, Sun Country flights, that, and so, you know, hopefully that's positive for our airport.
And my point being, with that absence of them in Duluth, which I know a lot of people here use, I'm not interested in, we've talked about that a couple years ago. I'm just saying, I see they are continuing to operate on both Grand Forks and Fargo, which are pretty close together. They do a lot of flights during the winter, so compliance is everything.
Yes.
You know, other than that, Mr. Bartlett is here, and I mean, he wasn't here for when we had the public comments. I was just also, I was wondering, is it okay if
Sure.
he addresses?
You bet.
Thank you. I want to speak about the terminal project.
Okay.
I don't know how much I respect what you guys have been doing, because my comments are maybe going to reflect adversely. And I really do respect what you do here, sitting at these meetings ad nauseum, and maybe with some cranks. And I looked at the airport terminal project, been following it in the paper, really is all I've been doing. And we went from, we've had a 30% increase in its cost since we started talking about it, what, 3 years ago or whatever. You're not done yet. It's not going to be 13. I mean, I've been around construction all my life. You guys know that here, some of it with you guys. You're not done. You're going to need to think about the scope of that project. You're going to have to start thinking about cutting scope in order to get it into a budget. And one of the things you need to think about, I think, is whether or not you need to do it. I think that's a valid question today. I've been in these projects where you sit with all the stakeholders and everybody gets a list of what they think they want, and you start there. You say, okay, we got to accommodate all this stuff. And right now, you may need to have to go back and say, do you need this? You need this? We don't need that, because you've got a big number, really big number. And I frankly don't think it's worth it, but somebody else voted that, and I'm okay with that as a democracy, but you're not done. It's going to be higher. You're going to have to think about scope. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. You're certainly right in the terms that we have a list of folks that want space at the airport, and in order to continue to have commercial flights, you got to have TSA has got to have their offices.
But maybe they don't need as big an operation, is what I'm getting at right there. They're the players.
You could be right, but
Yeah.
We heard that this morning from the engineers that they've sent out letters to them. The only one that has responded to the schematic drawings that they have is SkyWest. They said they're satisfied with the area that they have, and they'll be paying for that through lease rent every month. So we do get that. TSA, we do get monies. I think we're getting $1,000 a month for the office that they're occupying right now.
How many $1 million are we spending on it? And I'm not talking about our community, I'm talking about us as taxpayers in this country, because it's a huge number.
Well, the monies that will be going into this are not coming out of the income tax, they're coming out of taxes on your air ticket and on the
The
fuel
TSA
tax.
ones? Okay.
That's where the monies come for this,
All
this
of it?
project, all of it.
Okay, good. I didn't know that. Another thought, when you pull out these ads for people who aren't around, why don't you put a big graphic of your brochure in there? Just as a temporary matter, so we don't have a blank space, you know? Thank you for your
Great
time.
idea.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Bonding money from the state, isn't it?
Further?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner McBride.
Just, I guess I lost track of where our flights are. I was surprised that I had relatives fly down to Florida and back, and they were stopping in Hibbing. I didn't know we were stopping in Hibbing.
It started January the 1st.
January 1st.
Yep, we,
So we're not in Brainerd.
We're not in Brainerd, we're now paired with Hibbing on one flight a day.
At this time, right.
Yep.
And right now, they're working on the details.
Evening flight, morning flight.
That's correct.
First 6 a.m. flight or 7 a.m. flight, and then the late evening flight goes out.
That's correct.
But that could change for the summer schedule.
Absolutely.
Yes.
We're waiting for them to.
Yep, they haven't announced what the summer schedule will be yet.
But that stop in the morning at Hibbing really puts rush to catch your connections in
Yes,
Minneapolis.
definitely.
Because you're underground longer
That
than you're
makes-
in the air.
Yeah. You try to get
And,
to the.
and
the
I know
morning
that
push.
Thor's been working with Sean down there,
Yes.
trying to
Turn that around.
move them along a little bit, and they seem to be taking a little longer than what was
Had
expected.
a longer turnaround time than we do here.
Yes.
By a substantial amount, I guess.
So it's longer than 24
They're
hours.
learning, they're getting. My brother says it's a process.
Further,
So-
thank you. Commissioner Briggs? Thank you.
Just,
Commissioner Nevin?
I noted another Sun Country flight last week, and again, big numbers. The parking lot was full, a lot of Canadian customers as part of that. And you'll note there's not a lot of advertising in there. People are asking me, how do I get on these Sun Country? And they have a database of folks that they don't need to advertise because they fill up immediately, so.
There was 90 that went on.
Yeah. So good numbers, and again, a lot of the work that the public never sees, Thor and his crew doing yeoman's work out there, and there was a 737 test jet that came through. Thor made a very good impression on the gentleman there, and there was a new G5 in town yesterday with a local person, but so there's a lot of other aviation that's happening at the airport that's significant, and the size of the aircraft and I guess the sexiness of the aircraft is important to note too, because again, Thor and his crew are able to take care of these folks and keep them coming
You're
back.
too kind, I promise you.
It's true.
I'm just, it's the team, it's not me, I promise you.
That's right. We need a good manager in keeping that airport open and
No.
servicing those
Everyone
folks.
at the airport in this group that helps, that's the truth.
Appreciate the good work.
None of what we think.
Good comments, thank you, Commissioner Nevin. I would ask you to take 1 minute here and take a look at the Local Airline Service Action Committee has put together some guiding principles for the 2015 FAA reauthorization. We're looking to go to FAA and ask for an increase in the passenger facility charge. That's the first bullet point. Presently, I believe we're at $4.50. We're looking to go up to $8.50, which is would be added to the ticket price. But the airport would get additional dollars that way for improvements at the airport. Also that there's some changes with regard to the airport improvement program and authorizations to be able to maintain the tax exempt status of municipal bonds for airports. That's another one. To provide continued air service to our communities with regard to the pilot shortage. We've got a section on that. Also continuing the Essential Air Service Program. And of course, right now, 4 of the airports in Minnesota are receiving subsidy to continue that. And then lastly, the reauthorization of the federal contract tower for those airports that have a tower. leads me to tell you that on April the 6th, Congressman Nolan is going to be here conducting a transportation forum at the City Council chambers. There'll be both a rail forum and an air forum. And I know that you're going to be participating in at least one or both of those, Commissioner Pavlik, and that other persons in the community that are going to be involved in those forums. And so if you're interested, sure would like to have folks up there to sit in and hear the presentations and then also ask questions. I think it's 2 o'clock, but it could be 3. They're still trying to work out the timing of it. And we have a 4:30 city council meeting that day, so we're trying to make sure that they get through with these forums in time for the 4:30 city council meeting. But that's next Monday. A week from Monday. A week from Monday. I'm getting ahead of myself here. It's the day after Easter. So April the 6th in the afternoon, and right now I think it's 2 or 3 o'clock. But we'll have more information on that. So I guess I would ask approval of this guiding principles that the Local Airline Service Action Committee has put together. All of the airports with air service in Minnesota are adopting this. We've spent time drafting it, and certainly think it's something that we ought to be asking for. Maybe we don't get everything that's in here, but we'll certainly continue to try to get some of it. Motion by Commissioner Briggs to adopt the guiding principles for the 2015 FAA reauthorization. Second by Commissioner Nevenin. Discussion.
The 850, that would be across the board, so it
Yes.
doesn't put us in this.
Everybody would be getting the same, collecting the same.
The four airports that are receiving essential air, that's Gibby, Deep River.
Bemidji, Brainerd,
Bemidji, Brainerd.
Deep River, Gibbing, and the Falls. There are 5, excuse me. I forgot Deep River.
Yeah, no, I'm trying to decide the list. A lot of them, I think a lot of them, we received at least.
Yes, yes.
Even less than Deep River.
Yep.
Yes.
So we're doing very well.
Deep River's like 1,600,000 and we're 1,000,001 or something like that.
Yep. Further discussion. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. That's adopted. Lastly, meeting for April. April the 29th is the last Wednesday of April. Is that going to work? The last
That is
Wednesday.
the last
Yep.
Wednesday.
Yeah, today is the last
I'll
one.
be out of country then.
You'll be out of the country?
You're coming back.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other conflicts? Is there a date close to that, or? No?
Well, it wouldn't be until May.
Okay,
I get back on the first of May.
okay, no, then I think we need to go ahead with it.
Yeah.
All right,
20 to 8 a.m. here?
yep, 8:29, 8 a.m.
And I think we already moved on the motion to move forward with everything.
Yes, yep,
We did this meeting versus waiting.
thank you. Bob, did you have anything further for us?
No.
Thank you for being here.
Okay.
If there's nothing further to come before the Airport Commission, I would declare us adjourned. Thank you.
Bob, if you want to stop.